Hello, ladies and gentlemen. MarauderEX here with just kind of a random rant talking. I don't know what to really classify this. Let's just talk about the weird news that's been happening last couple of days. So, for those of you who haven't heard, I'm going to be discussing the Fine brothers. Now, I'm going to talk about a little bit of the good and the bad of this situation, because there's a little bit of both, and it's getting blown around and out of proportion in a lot of things. So let's talk about it. So for those of you who don't know what's going on, the Fine brothers, they are content creators on YouTube. That their big channel was the reaction channel. They did like kids react to this, teens react to that, elders react to something else, that sort of thing. So like that was their shtick, and it became very popular under their channel. They did a really good job of taking a particular format and expanding on it, and taking videos from this particular genre and making them very popular. Nothing wrong with that. Kudos, actually, because that's not a genre you would actually expect to have ballooned the way it did. Now, because it did balloon, and they got millions of subscribers, they wanted to take it a little further, and they wanted to turn it into a brand, and they kept referring to it as talking about how in traditional media, licensing out a show name for something. I guess they were trying to treat it like, I don't know, Law and Order. Basically, they wanted to make react videos like Law and Order, so that someone's like, oh, well, I want to do a Law and Order show, but I want to do it about depressed clowns. Then you have Law and Order Depressed Clowns series, and that was what they were, I guess, wanted to do. They kept talking about how they wanted to license the show out, and to do that, they trademarked it. They trademarked Kids React, Elders React, Teens React, but then they also trademarked just the word React, which is where people got very, very uncomfortable. Because, going back to the Law and Order, it's like, okay, you want to make Law and Order, that's fine. If I want to make a generic police lawyer drama and have Law and Order somewhere in the title, but not necessarily just Law and Order, but want, order of the, like, that's doable. It looks sketchy, but I mean, that's how television shows have existed for years. Is someone comes up with an idea, and other people just kind of run with it. With all these variations. Like, you have The Voice, you have American Idol, you have whatever other singing sensation you've got. Anyway, so they trademarked these terms. Now, the show names, Kids React, Elders React, that's fine. That's actually the name of their particular show. But then just the word react is where people got upset, because that is such an overreaching and frighteningly powerful trademark in the grand scheme of things, that they could, in theory, start policing the genre, which is something they said no one can own a genre. But when you trademark just the word react and its definition of you can police the genre, and people were upset because they didn't see that. Either they didn't see it, or they were ignoring that they had that much power. And then when it came to light that people were unhappy and started, calling them out, this is not, kosher. Their basic responses was just trust us. We're totally pro, content creator, large and small. I don't know how you can just say the word, just trust me, with this unbelievable, unimaginable amount of power, that I won't abuse it. Just trust me. Give me superpowers. Make me Superman. And trust me to not become a totalitarian ruler and use my power to influence world decisions. No, trust me. Who thinks that way? That's just how people... No. People freaked out. People called them out on it. They started leaving their channel. They've lost several 100,000 subscribers at this point. Which, you know, when you've got, at this point they had like, I want to say like 13.6 million subscribers. That's really not a lot. That's you're still probably in like the single digit of percentages. So, but it's their sponsors, because they are a small company and they are trying to expand, and they're probably not doing too well after this, considering, you know, how quickly they actually did a 180. Because they have retracted all of the trademarks. But one of the reasons why people didn't trust them, other than just human nature, was the fact that they have thrown hissy fits in the past about their brand. Several years ago, Ellen DeGeneres, you know, the actress who has her own talk show, did a Kids React skit on her show. Nothing like their format, nothing at all, which I'll get into their format in a minute. And they went on a tirade about it. They went on Twitter, they went on YouTube, and they talked about how it was very insulting that the Ellen show did not, you know, consult them, did not thank them, did not mention that this is because they own React. This time they didn't actually own the trademark. So, I mean, it was just being a little presumptuous of them. We made this famous, so you should thank us. No, this has been around longer than they have been alive. So, let's just think about that for a second. That they went after another well-known entertainer for stealing their format. And the reason that I bring this up is because one of the things they wanted to do with these trademarks is they wanted to make an umbrella type system where you could do a React video, license it through them, and you could get, you know, particular assets. They didn't really say what they could get for it, and they never defined their format. But you could license through them once they had these trademarks, and you could give them your video, and they would upload it, and they'd give you a cut, I suppose. They never really went into specifics about any of this, because it was just still at the very early stages to where they probably didn't have these specifics. And if they have lived on the internet as long as they say they have, they didn't see the shitstorm that kicked up when Nintendo did this. And Nintendo is a much larger company than they are, and Nintendo got a ton more flack than what they got. So, how do you think that this is? Anyway, so they wanted to make this umbrella, and you give them your React video and license it, and they get money off of it. Hopefully you get money off of it as well, but at the very least you get to upload it through their program, and I guess you get popularity for it. There's a lot of this could be what happened, but we'll never know for sure. But they never defined their format. They never defined what this was. So you have a very overreaching trademark, something that really gives them too much power in this particular arena. They have a history of throwing hissy fits about other people making reaction videos and it getting an audience. And you have, we're only taking down videos that are, you know, directly. It's like, it's when you start getting into the fair use concepts, you start having to deal with transformative works. And the only reason why it's not actually been fought is because the people whose videos were affected don't want to fight. Now, people say, oh, you're an idiot for not fighting. You know, there are a couple of people who say that, and, you know, it's mostly true. It's like, if you truly believe your content is fair use, you should fight for it. But the way that information has been presented by a lot of people, those people just look like assholes. So I'm just going to say that right there, because but you also don't blame the person who's been negatively affected by this, because it's YouTube tantamount to victim blaming, because like you make something that you honestly feel is transformative, but you don't feel like possibly going through the rigmarole of having to defend it, because why should you have to defend? But that's a whole nother rant that I could get into. It's ridiculous, because they had this much power. They've had hissy fits. They've taken down other videos. But they don't see why people are upset. I'm honestly not surprised. I don't wish any ill will for them. Anything like, no. I don't, like, they had an idea. They thought, now if they just had trademarked the kids, the teens, the elders react, that's one thing, because that's their particular show name. And other people could do reaction videos as long as you didn't specifically label it. Like, I could do cop lawyer drama. As long as I don't name it Law and Order, I'm fine. That's the long and short of it. But because they trademarked the word react, that gave them too much power. And a lot of people are sitting here talking about how YouTube is just equally as complicit, and we need to blame YouTube for allowing this to happen. No, because, again, legally, if Fine Brothers had the trademark on it, they could go after what they felt would be infringing on their trademark through YouTube. Like, that's how YouTube system works. YouTube system was working the way they designed it to. Whether or not that means it was working well is a completely different debate. Personally, I don't think it was, because our laws are complete bullshit. So instead of sitting here screaming at YouTube, because let's face it, it's not YouTube's fault. We're done screaming at the Fine Brothers because they retracted it. They've given up on this particular. Hopefully, they just come back with the kids, the teens, and the elders react series, trademark those, and be done with that. Like, leave just the overreaching verbs alone. Don't try to, otherwise I'm going to trademark the word breathing. And, that's what a lot of people say, is I'm going to trademark X word, and now you owe me money. Now, it's not how it works, but anyway. The Fine Brothers did a 180. Let's let them see if they can regroup and come back with what idea they wanted to have that doesn't give them an extreme amount of power, but just lets them, protect their brand. Because that's what these laws are supposed to do. They're supposed to be able to protect your own IP assets. As I've been working on things that I would like to protect. Like, I have some intellectual property that I've been working on for years that I would love to protect, so that if I wanted to try to produce it, I don't have to worry as much about someone blatantly ripping it off. I like the concept of intellectual property laws. But the problem is, when someone uses something that is supposed to be a shield for your particular content to protect other people from stealing it, and instead turning it into a battering ram to take other people's, that's where we have the problem. And that's where the issue really lies, is the fact that our laws are so out of date that people are using these shields as battering rams and just destroying things. And YouTube is the Wild West of it. It is, because it is such a large format, it has such a large audience, and everyone's looking to be the next big thing, that this is where a lot of it's happening. So what needs to happen, instead of screaming at YouTube, instead of, condemning the Fine Brothers more, write your congressmen, write your representatives, write your senators, write anyone and everyone, from, local town authority to, DC level, and tell them that this is shit that needs to change. Because they're not going to, everything's just, you can yell at YouTube all you want, but they can't change the law. I mean, they could have lobbyists go in and say, yeah, well, but they're not going to do it unless they have a reason to. So, don't expect Google or YouTube or any of that to do it unless, you can find some way to cause them to lose a ton of money otherwise. And realistically, you'd have to... That's just not possible. More realistically is if enough people actually contact, their lawmakers, say, look, this is out of date, it'll take a long time. Because these laws are so ridiculously out of date, but they are so viciously protected because it gives people a monopoly. It gives people so much control over a lot of things that they don't want to give up that power. And that's, again, why a lot of people were very hesitant about this. It's like, trust me, I'm not going to... It's like, no, once someone gets power, they very rarely want to give it up. And it just happened in this case because the Fine brothers were big enough to try to get that much power, but also small enough to where we still had an impact on it if we chose to not give them our money, or our views, or our support. Trademark laws are way bigger than that, so it's going to take a lot more to do that. But that's the only way this shit will stop happening, is we have to adjust the laws themselves, because as long as you're still working within the confines of the law, there's really no reason to change. So YouTube's not going to change. The Fine brothers wouldn't have changed if they could have gotten away with it. The person who's going to do this next. Sony tried they tried to trademark Let's Play. Thankfully, that didn't go through. Fine brothers, they got the trademark on React. It's only a matter of time before someone else gets a trademark on something very vague, very unspecific, and it gives them just an incredible broadsword to cut through any and all content they want to claim as their own. So, while the Fine brothers made a huge mistake in thinking that this was a good idea, they're not, at least I don't think they're terrible people. Mildly ignorant? Probably. Because I don't see, as a rational human being, how anyone could think that this was not going to blow up in your face like Wile E. Coyote with an Acme Dynamite kit. But that... being ignorant of a consequence does not mean you are a terrible person. So I dislike people sitting here vilifying them. I especially hate the all of the completely terrible racial slurs. That just shows how terrible the internet is, and why the internet is not a good place. Because it's like, if this is the people we've got defending us, it's like, it's not necessarily who you want. Like, yeah. Anyway, that's the long and short of it. I know some people are probably going to agree, some people are going to disagree. You can comment on it and, post your perspective. But I mean, I've been reading about this for like 2 days solid now. I've been trying to find as much information that's not as leaning one way or another, because a lot of the YouTubers I follow are apparently friends with the Fine brothers. Like, they know them personally and say they're not terrible people, and this was just a very poorly worded, poorly executed plan. And then you've got people on the internet, it's like, no, they are terrible human beings, and they wanted to be terrible human beings and have this power. So it's very hard to... The truth is probably going to lie somewhere in the cracks in between all of this. But what we've got now is what has happened. So, if you agree or disagree, comment on it. Let me know the thoughts on the subject. But I really can't imagine too many people saying, oh yeah, no, our trademark and copyright laws are completely fine, and, what the Fine brothers did, that's fantastic. They should have got away with it. It's, because, like, even if you want to say it's capitalism, capitalism was not created, or does not endorse monopolies. In fact, it's quite the opposite. So, that's the thing. So, yeah, like I said, let me know your thoughts, opinions. I don't even have any idea of where to go with this from here. I'm glad it's over. But I just know it's only a matter of time before someone else does something this stupid. So, yeah. Anyway, I will catch you guys in the future for more rants and whatnot. So, till then, later, everyone.